Thank you for joining us today for an introduction to LexisNexis Risk Solutions Business InstantID 2.0, its most advanced verification product to date. Our speakers today are Ben Cutler and Tim Bernhard. Ben is a Senior Director of Market Planning with LexisNexis and leads its risk assessment on small businesses initiative focusing on credit risk, fraud, and third-party and supply chain management. Tim has been with LexisNexis for over 25 years and is currently a Director of Product Management and leads the product development for small business and commercial data. Both of these gentlemen have been very instrumental in the development of Business InstantID 2.0 and are excited to share with you how it can help your company verify millions of businesses' entities quickly and immediately identify red flags. And now, over to you, Ben.
Toby, great, thanks. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining the call today. My name is Ben Cutler. Before we start, fully realize how busy people's schedules are, so thank you for attending, and I really think you're going to get something out of this webinar. Before we start, I'll go out on a limb here, probably get a little too personal. A couple of years back, my wife decided that the movies I watched probably just didn't have enough culture in them. So we got on this program of watching old classic movies, most of them black and white, and most of them before even my father was born. Now, I can't say that they were all good. One that did catch my attention was Casablanca. Suspect that most of you have seen that. One of the classic lines coming out of this film was, "Here's looking at you, kid." Right, so this is where Rick is talking to Ilsa and wooing her and the whole 9 yards. So while that is the classic line, the same sentence before had something that's maybe a bit more pertinent to what we're going to talk about today. Rick asks Ilsa, "Who are you really?" Now, I suspect that if you've seen the show, you're familiar with the fact that they had agreed that there was going to be no questions asked and on and on and on. But who are you really? Now, this is a concept that applies very much in a business format. In other words, it's one of these questions that you need to answer first in credit, in deposits, in shipping. So who are you? Are you real? So when you think about a credit situation, need to understand that an entity is real before you underwrite, before you issue a small business card, before you put the card in the mail and send it off to your applicant. Are you real? This is also a question that needs to be answered in deposit situation, before accepting deposits or maybe it's a day 2 event. Clearly, are you real applies to shipping, right? So your supply chain, understanding who you're dealing with and any risks they might have. So are you real? And one of the key concepts here is are you real applies to both the business and the person behind the business. So the combination of the business entity and the person, be it an owner, an authorized representative, a personal guarantor who is supporting that business. So what I quickly do is jump to a quick survey, audience participation survey, around this concept. Are you real? So Toby, go ahead.
All right, thank you. First polling question is, what percentage of your third parties do you verify currently? Up to 25%, up to 50%, or up to 100%? We'll collect some answers here. And it looks like we have received some responses. I'll go ahead and close the poll now. All right, back to you.
All right, this is Ben again. So just looking at the results, almost 2/3 are verifying all third parties that you're dealing with. So that's definitely positive. I'm a bit surprised with the up to 25% coming in at over 20% of the respondents. bit surprised there. So let's talk a little bit more about this, why it's important to verify if the entity is real. Maybe a better way to look at it is, how can you tell if the third party that you're dealing with is a real entity, be a person or a business? There are clues in what we like to refer to as the data ecosystem. In other words, indications that the entity that you're dealing with, or be it your applicant or otherwise, actually is a real person or a real business. So here are a few of these clues. Does the business have recent activity? In terms of recent activity, when you think about what a business does when it comes into existence, it's going to go set up shop somewhere. So it establishes an address, and then it turns the lights on. So there's utility transactions. Sets up a phone. It wants to be contacted, maybe or a URL or a website. So there's activity happening around businesses. That's a clue to their identity. Another clue: are they present in a trustworthy government source? So you think about a business, if it's registered at the Secretary of State, that's a good indication that it's a real business. If it has an IRS 401k program, if it has a derogatory experience, unfortunately, a bankruptcy, a judgment, a tax lien, or even a UCC filing are indications that that party is real. This third piece here, concept here is 2 points make a line. So one of the clues to verify identity, are they present in more than one source? And does the information in those sources corroborate? In other words, is it the same name, the same address, same phone number, same tax identification number, same description of the business? You can also look at the length of time on file. In other words, when was the first time we see existence of this business? And when was the last time that we saw existence of the business? All right, so the first seen date plays into a stability. If we've seen them for 3 years, that indicates they're real and that they're stable. Recency is also important. If the last time we saw them was 3 years ago, that indicates another problem. And then finally, transactions with others helps understand if your third party you're dealing with is real. So, clearly a credit relationship. So is there a credit history, a credit report associated with that business? Is there a trade? So business-to-business credit experiences. So there's many, many clues out there to help verify if a business is real. Really what one of the major problems, though, is what do you do if you need to verify many entities? And when I'm talking about many entities, we've dealt with customers who need to verify hundreds of entities a month, thousands of entities a month, tens of thousands of entities a month, and even there's even a few that are in the hundreds of thousands range. At that point, while it's still critical to uncover these clues that indicate if a business is legitimate or not, the amount of manual processing that would be involved to do that is just overwhelming. So the goal is to establish a fast process that enables you to verify the identity of the business and the people behind the business, but at the same time avoid the costly and the time-consuming and, frankly, not always the most consistent manual reviews that would be involved in that situation. So this brings us to another audience participation question. So you want to go ahead and read that off?
Absolutely. What % of your customer authentication process is automated? 80% to 100%, it's nearly all automated. 50% to 80%, it's mostly automated. 1% to 50%, there is some automation. Or 0%, we use manual processes. We'll give it a second to tally up some answers here. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the poll now. And Ben, it looks like 37%. It was around 1% to 50%.
Yeah, Yep. So it looks like we're really across the board here in the results. Now, manual processes looks like about 12% there. You know, if you're in a situation where there's only a few a month, it's not as burdensome. But I suspect that these responses where 80 to 100% are, or even the 50 to 80% are dealing with high volumes of applicants that they need to verify, where this manual process just gets unwieldy. So let me do this. I want to share just some ultra simple math. Now, you probably thought there'd be no numbers involved, but these numbers are really round, so it's easy to get our arms around. The case for doing manual verification and why that math makes sense. If you're looking at 100 applications a month and assessing a manual process versus an automated process, if you can auto-verify, we'll say 80%, that takes your manual verification queue from 1,000 to only 200, a fifth amount of work. So then cost per manual verification, of course, that's going to vary by each institution. I'm using round numbers here, $5 we'll say. You can see that the process of an automated verification not only significantly reduces the volume or the work involved in verifications, but can significantly reduce the amount of cost as well. Okay, let's jump to the next slide. I think we have just one more poll question, and then we'll get into some of the additional benefits from automation and talk about our Business InstantID 2.0 process. Toby, you want to go ahead and do this participation as well?
Absolutely. If an application does not pass in automate processes, what do you do? App is sent to exception processing. We decline the application, or not sure. We'll give it a few seconds here to tally up the results. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now, Ben. Overwhelming there. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
This is what I was expecting to see. Great. Okay, app is sent to exception processing. That's what I was expecting. It's very standard. So, you know, really the goal is with an automated verification process to ensure that the tool you're using is both accurate and robust enough to verify as many identities as possible. In other words, if there's going to be a exception processing or manual review on the no-hits, the goal is to have those no-hits as low as possible. Now, one thing I do want to turn attention to, it's not all about cost reduction when you're talking about identity verification. Several other important points here. An automated process can actually improve and increase approval rates. And, of course, that leads to a larger market share. And the concept there is as the automated process is quicker, you avoid customer drop-off. And we'll call it, it's more streamlined. So that's where it goes to this next point here, reduces customer friction. Hey, none of us like paperwork, let alone a small business applicant. Small business owners don't like paperwork, right? So the amount of paperwork that can be reduced through an automated process leads to both a faster approval and to more of a customer uptake. This third point here, eliminating the variability of human decisioning. I like humans. I spend time with humans every day, but the fact of the matter is us humans, we're not all the same. If you have a group of humans doing a manual verification process, you're dealing with different skills, different judgments, be a qualitative or quantitative approach, and that just leads to variation in who was verified and why. The issue there is that increases exposure in a regulatory review. You have less to stand behind in terms of why identity was verified, what were the key elements that went into that process. I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a minute, but the follow-on issue there is that can increase reputational risk. None of us want the logo of our company to be on the front page for some type of infraction, especially if it has to do with something that came out of our business unit, right? So decreasing exposure in a regulatory review also decreases reputational risk. So a bit back to the regulatory environment. I'm sure most folks on the phone here are aware that the new FinCEN rule on ultimate beneficial owners is going into effect about this time next year, right? So it's really geared to one of the elements of the rule, at least, is geared to instruct and direct institutions on how to deal with beneficial owners, how to verify the identity of beneficial owners behind a business. And a bit of the definition there. What is a beneficial owner? Well, it's an individual with 25% or more equity interest. So that's the prong number one of this beneficial owner definition is equity. The second piece is, or the second prong is, an individual with significant responsibility, and the language is to control, manage, or direct a legal entity customer. In other words, that's an executive or a senior management. So effectively, this rule requires that the identity of a person, an ultimate beneficial owner, is verified, and those identities can be up to 5. Again, 4 individuals with equity ownership, plus potentially a person with control or managerial control or relationship. Okay, so with that, I want to talk a bit about what we're doing to ensure that automated processes are efficient, that they're accurate, that they reduce the number of manual reviews, and that they help comply with these new FinCEN regulations. So this is our new Business InstantID 2.0 product. It's our most advanced business verification product to date. A few of the high-level details. Hit rates. So this product has our highest hit rates on small businesses, and from our testing, up to 25% more hits than many other leading solutions. We've increased the value functionality here. So there's indices to reveal where clients were verified and risk flags and reason codes behind the verification. I just spoke to the importance of verifying the person behind the business. LexisNexis Risk Solutions for many years has been known for our ability to verify person identities. And, we have pretty close to complete coverage of the human identities in the U.S. Well, InstantID 2.0 has the ability to verify the people behind the business and up to 5 of those individuals to comply with the FinCEN regulations. Final piece here, product versions. There are 3 versions of this product that meet specific needs. Now, this is just a thumbnail. In a moment here, I'm going to turn the time over to Tim Bernhard. Tim is over our product and was critical to the product development process. Before I do that, though, I want to quickly touch on the foundation of Business InstantID 2.0 and how we can achieve our verification rates, how we can have confidence in the verification that we provide. So a lot of it comes down to coverage. We have roughly 10,000 data sources that we combine to use in this identity verification. And those 10,000 data sources, from our testing, appear to be about 25% more U.S. businesses than other providers, particularly strong in small businesses, new businesses, and some, I'll call them niche business. This coverage includes what we call alternative data. So alternative data is non-credit experiences, data that's not included on the credit report. A moment ago, I described what a business does when it gets set up. It sets up shop, turns on lights, gets a phone number, that type of stuff. Also, bank credit data and business-to-business trade credit data. So that's the first step of the foundation, more coverage. The second piece is our linking. Anytime you have 10,000 of anything, that can either be a great asset or one heck of a liability. So it just comes down to our technology of linking these data sources together to ensure that the records are combined to the proper business entity. And then finally, what this brings is more clarity. Clarity on the connections, clarity on the business entity itself, connections with other businesses, and the connected people or executives or employees. So really our foundation comes down to data, the technology and linking to combine that data, and then analytics to uncover linkages within the business, across other businesses, and to people. Okay, so with that, there's a thumbnail of the product itself. Let me turn the time over to Tim, and he'll walk through the nuts and bolts of how the product works, talk through the verification scores. He'll go into details on recent metrics and even some of the risk codes. Tim, go ahead.
Great. Thanks for that, Ben. So let's jump into some of the details of the product of Business InstantID 2.0. So essentially there are three core or critical components to the product. The first of which is the Business Verification Index, which we'll call BVI. At its core, the product verifies identifying elements of a business. So that's the business name or the trade style, the address, the tax identification number, the telephone number. So we take all of those identifying elements as inputs and compare those to the data that we have on file. How well or how completely those inputs match result in a BVI, or a Business Verification Index. We'll talk a little bit more about the index itself in just a minute. But one note to make, though, is that some products will kind of verify the company name, that name is on file, or verify that an address is valid. But verifying those elements independently isn't really enough. You really need a product that makes sure those identifying elements co-appear, that they are reported together. And that's what Business InstantID does. The second piece of the product is the Consumer Verification Index, or CVI. It's an analog to the business verification I just described. And essentially, this is our consumer instant ID product. So it does a very similar function where it takes the identifying elements of a human being and compares those to the data that we have on file to verify that or confirm the identity of a human being. And as Ben mentioned, one of the features with the 2.0 version of Business InstantID is that we can accept 5 consumers or authorized representatives on a single input transaction. And the third element is this business to executive link. This third leg of the stool here essentially reports back to you how well Lexis could confirm a connection between that person and that business. And again, we return an index similar to the BVI and similar to the CVI that indicates the strength of that connection between the person and the business. So this is a really core capability that Lexis has, is the ability to detect connections among entities across vast amounts of data. So moving on to talk a little bit more about that index itself. So this is the BVI, or the Business Verification Index. And this is a judgmental score, again, indicating how completely or how well those inputs you provided about that business match our facts on file. The index runs from 0 to 50, incremented by tens, with 0 being the weakest verification and 50 being the strongest. So the first row of text there indicates the range of verification. Again, going from virtually nothing on file to very strong verification. We've worked for years with our customers. The business version of InstantID has been around at least a decade or so, and our consumer InstantID has been around even longer. And over that time, we've essentially established some best practices, or worked with our customers to establish policies. And typically, for most customers of these products, a 40 or a 50 index is considered auto-approve. So it's a strong verification, nothing more to see here. Go ahead and onboard that business. A 30 indicates that there's partial verification. So we've been able to verify some elements of that business to our facts on file, but not everything. So that may fall out to an exception queue or require some additional review. 10s and 20s are extremely weak. We do not recommend We don't consider that a verification at all. And then the 0 means that we couldn't find anything. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So how does this product, this 2.0 version of this product compare? So we've done a lot of testing in development of this product and getting ready to deploy it into production. And these are sort of standard or through-the-door metrics we're seeing with the 2.0 version. Obviously the results will vary based on the input file and what that input file consists of. But on kind of typical through-the-door type sets of inputs, we're seeing a 70% auto-approval rate. So that's those 40s and 50s collectively. And only about a 10% outright failure. And then we have that 15% where there's no information whatsoever. So oftentimes those are corrupted inputs. The company name, something happened to it. The address was, again, garbled or something like that. Or in some cases, these may be attempts to synthesize a business entity. They may be fraud attempts. So moving along here, in addition to those 3 indices I described, the Business Verification Index, the Consumer Verification Index, and that Business to Executive link, the product also returns up to 8 risk indicators per response out of a total of 45 possible risk indicators. Now, these risk indicators range from anything to informational types of message to more of the red flag or more of a warning or a kick out to manual review. So informational types of risk indicators might be simply things like the business operates at multiple locations or it is operating from a residential address. Again, not anything really terribly atypical, but just nice information to have. We can alert you to the types of elements we were unable to verify. So even if you got a 40, we could tell you that there was an element we weren't able to verify, but everything else matched exactly. And then there are those risk indicators that live up to the name of a risk indicator. Things such as the input address you gave us was potentially a prior address for that business. Again, Ben mentioned not seeing any pulse or any data footprint on this business for 36 months. If Lexus hasn't seen an updating record about that business in 3 years, it's very likely that that business may be stagnant or dormant. And then again, there's that type of warning where a tax identification number you input belongs to a completely different business than the name, address, and phone you input. So we talked about Business InstantID 2.0's ability to support up to 5 authorized representatives on input. And Ben mentioned FinCEN's universal or ultimate beneficial owner requirements. So again, I think we mentioned this earlier, but with every single one of those human inputs, those authorized reps, those guarantors or owners, we not only return a consumer verification on that person to indicate that we could confirm that identity, but we also tell you how each of those 5, how well each of those 5 is linked to that business. And again, that really illustrates a core competency of drawing connections to entities or among entities. So the slide, this table here illustrates 3 distinct versions of the product. Again, these are designed to meet different market or different companies' needs. The first column there basically describes product features or functions. And then the second, third, and fourth column talk about each version of the product. So again, at its core, it's a verification product. We verify that we can confirm those identifying elements about a business. It's great for onboarding, account opening, very sort of light touch, standard verification. The compliance version of the product goes above and beyond verification, and it will return a lot more information about that company than what you input. So again, that compliance version will return industry classification, perhaps a description of the business, some Secretary of State specific information, things like that. And then the third version is for the Small Business Financial Exchange members. So Lexis, about 2 years ago, I guess, became a certified vendor of the Small Business Financial Exchange. So if you're a member of that exchange and you contribute data to it, we can develop a version of Business InstantID that leverages that content in addition to the alternative data or public records information that Ben discussed earlier. So I think we've covered the slides that talk about the product and some of the features there. Ben, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, let me do this. We have a summary slide here, so let me just recap some of the key points. And I'm looking at the Q&A panel here. Looks like we've had several questions come in. So let me do a quick summary, and then we'll use the rest of the time to do some Q&A. So Business InstantID 2.0, it really is our most advanced business verification product yet. Again, data sources are core. We're pulling from 10,000 data sources. And like I said before, whenever you have 10,000 of anything, really you have to rely on technology and linking to ensure that the sources are correctly connected. The result of the combination of the data and the linking is really the highest hit rates, up to 25% more U.S. businesses than many other providers. Also has the ability to verify consumer entities, the people connected to the business, and multiple consumer entities. So as we mentioned, up to 5 to comply with this FinCEN regulation. Again, that's 4 individuals that would have 25% or more equity interest, plus the person that has the control prong, right, an executive or a CEO type person. Value-added functionality, so Tim talked through these risk codes. Those risk indicators are given with a score. There's 45 indicators, and we return the 8 indicators or 8 top indicators if they were tripped that are tripped. And then 3 product versions. The base verification, a step-up verification that includes some compliance dynamics, some more information around Secretary of State, around some firmographics, first-name, last-name dates. And then a version that includes data elements from the Small Business Financial Exchange that really are green flags to help further solidify the identity verification process. So with that, Toby, maybe if I could turn it back to you, and let's jump into some of these questions.
All right. As a reminder, if you have a question today, please use the chat feature in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. We did get a couple questions already here. First question, where do you source the data for this product?
Hey, Tim, it's okay. Let me hit that one. This is Ben. So 10,000 data sources. Let me kind of group the sources of data where they come from. So there's government data. That would include information from the Secretary of State, business registrations, FEINs, that's tax ID numbers, fictitious business names or DBAs, property and asset information, so looking at deeds and assessments and foreclosures, and vehicle information, so vehicles and boats and aircraft, phones and utilities, so EDA, cell phones, emails, utility connections, various licenses, and this applies a bit more on the person side, so driver's licenses, voter registrations, occupations. Let's see, derogatory events, so that would be bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments, any court records, also looking at OFAC and watch lists, and firmographics, so employees, revenues, locations, hierarchies, that type of information we'll assess as well. So that's the data types. Various sources, we play really across a spectrum of data sources, and some are difficult to build and maintain, and others are less so. Some are very unique and differentiating, others less so. So that's where we've seen that the aggregation approach is what brings the value. So gateway access, to IRS type of information. Vended sources, so we're buying quite a bit of data, credit headers, voter registrations, criminal information. We do have some direct-to-source runner networks, proprietary builds around property files and some of these derogatory files, and even some contributory databases. So again, 10,000 data sources spanning government data, property, utilities, derogatory, and then aggregated through just different formats.
Next question. How does this compare to your other business instant ID?
Tim, let me hit that one as well. Yeah, I love to talk about this. So Business InstantID 1.0, Tim mentioned in his talk track that that's been around for a decade or more. Business InstantID 2.0 has some similarities in terms of the verification index, but there are significant improvements that really make it a new product. So we use a fully new and patented linking process. We have additional data types that go into our Business InstantID 2.0 process. We, of course, now can verify up to 5 individuals connected to the business, and previously it was just 1 individual in that 1.0 version. We've completely revamped our person-to-business connection, so the data and the analytics have been fully freshened. So that's kind of the technical comparison. What does that mean? In our recent tests, as we've looked through the door populations of, we've done many tests with banks and telecoms and alternative lenders and quite a few other players. We're seeing an improvement in 40s and 50s, so the auto improves. It depends on the portfolio, but 15 to 20% more auto approvals, and a reduction in the no-hits. And again, it kind of depends on the portfolio, but we've seen up to 50% reduction in the no-hits. So quite an improvement in the auto verification and a significant improvement in the reduction of no-hits.
All right. Next question. How does give me 1 second here, sorry. Is Business Instant ID an online product? Do my employees have to enter the inputs into the interface somewhere?
Oh, great. Thanks for that, Toby. This is Tim speaking. The product is actually available via multiple delivery channels. So we have an XML version for machine-to-machine. As Ben mentioned, some of our clients have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of businesses to verify a month, and they'll typically use an XML direct interface. Or they can use one of our batch services and run batches on a monthly or whatever period they need to. And we do offer the product in our online apps. So the current version is there today. It's been around for several years, tried and true. And this new 2.0 version we're launching in our updated online interface. So it'll be live very shortly in our online applications. So typically, if something falls out for a manual review, the person very often tries to duplicate the performance that they got back from a batch or an XML transaction. And then they begin their investigation from that manual online version.
Next question. What does it take to get up and running with Business Instant ID?
Oh, great. Ben, I'll go ahead and take that one too. This is Tim again. So typically we perform a test. So it all begins with kind of us understanding your data and what you have in it. We have a dedicated team of scoring consultants that will work with you and your technical staff to put together a test file. And then once we get the test file all established, we'll go ahead and run it through the product. And we not only share the results with you, but we'll present the effects or the implications of the results. So it all really begins with a test. And then I mentioned that we have several delivery channels. So depending upon how you'll be integrating the product to your company or your line of business, we have, again, separate consult staff that will help you integrate. We've got an XML team that will work directly with you to get the pipeline established and get you up and running from that perspective. We have batch consultants that will work with you to get the file format and get a secure transfer established between your company and Lexis. And then lastly, probably the quickest or simplest way is to get signed up for one of our online applications, such as the risk management page or the anti-money laundering page. So it all begins with a test.
Thank you. Next question. Are criminal sex offender background checks done?
I can cover that one.
Oh, you want to go ahead? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
So this is an identity verification tool, not a background screening tool. So it doesn't really not to develop or include data to do criminal checks or background checks.
So these risk indicators will be given with the score?
This is Tim. Yes, that's true. So we'll return those indexes, those indices. So you get the BVI, 0 through 50, the CVI 0 through 50, the business to executive link 0 through 50. And then you'll get 4 risk indicators for the business and up to 4 risk indicators for the consumer, should one be on input. So those risk indicators are returned with the same response as the indicators.
Thank you. This next question is a two-part question. Does this product have international coverage? If so, which regions? If not, is there a trajectory to do this?
Yeah, this is Ben. Let me hit that. So this is a Business InstantID 2.0 is focused on U.S. companies. So at this point, does not have international coverage. Is there a trajectory for it? Is there a desire? Yes. It's kind of a twinkle in my eye right now. It really will come down to the data sources that we can aggregate. We're on that path, but again, a trajectory, can't really share any dates at this point. But like I said, there are aspirations to do that.
Thank you. Next question. If an organization has more than 5 reps, does Lexis check on reps over the 5 limit?
This is Tim. I'll go ahead and field that one. It would be a separate transaction. So if you had ABC Inc. and ABC Inc. had 10 humans associated with it that you wanted to verify, you'd have to send us 2 transactions, ABC Inc. with the first 5 and ABC Inc. with humans 6 through 10. Now, we do have products that tell you more about the business and about the humans we can associate with the business. So we have a product called Small Business Attributes, and that basically gives you about 200 variables about any given business that you send in. And some of those variables pertain to the humans. It'll tell you the number, how many humans we associate with that business, and some things that could be potential risk indicators about those humans that are connected to the business. But Business InstantID 2.0 is limited to 5 authorized representatives on input.
This is Ben, just with a quick metric there as well. From our testing, that scenario doesn't pop up particularly often. I mean, just thinking about the dynamics of the U.S. business environment, most businesses are small. You'll see the metrics out there, 90+% are small. Many times there'll be just a person, maybe 2 people with an ownership role in that business, again, because they're small. Tim, help me out. What are we seeing in the testing? That typically somewhere between 1.7 to 2.3 people connected to businesses. Not often that we get to the 5+ number. Okay, Toby, go ahead. Any more questions there?
We do. Will our current Business ID search be impacted or replaced with the 2.0 version?
This is Ben. Let me hit that one as well. So Business InstantID 1.0 and the Business InstantID 2.0, they're distinct products. So there's not going to be any type of migration or forced migration from 1.0 to 2.0. If you want to, if you're currently a Business InstantID 1.0 user, I'd highly encourage you to work with your sales representative to schedule a test, and we can do a direct comparison of the results you're getting through 1.0 versus what you would get through 2.0, and then we can talk through what the process would be to move to the 2.0 version.
Next question. You mentioned small vendors, but I'm assuming that this is similar to your other tools that covers all vendor, large and small. Please confirm.
Yeah, this is Ben. I'll hit that. I like to say small business a lot because, again, just the dynamics of the U.S. business environment, it's one of those deals where it's a pyramid and there's only a very small tip of the pyramid are large businesses and the huge base of small businesses. This tool, similar to our other tools, is geared to verify identities of large to small. Again, I say small business a lot because that's where most of the volume is happening.
All right. We do want to allow enough time here very quickly. If you guys could help us out, we just want to know how our webinar did today. How satisfied are you with the content of today's webinar? If you guys could answer for us, that would be great. I'll give you a little bit of time to actually answer this one. We do have one more polling question after this, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last question. Do you guys have any additional comments? And while this one is popping up, I'm actually going to turn it over to Ben and Tim for any closing remarks.
Yeah, this is Ben. Just to recap, we're very excited about this Business InstantID 2.0 product. We're seeing just fantastic metrics around the auto verification and the ability to reduce the reduction in no hits, which lends to a reduction in manual views. Kind of get back to the concept that the goal when you're dealing with many applicants is to have as automated as a process as possible. And this really lends to that automated process, reduces the cost of manual reviews, and has all the other benefits, customer uptake, consistency in results, complying with regulations and the like. So I guess my last statement here is more of an invitation to really see the results, and invite you to work with your representative, and we can schedule data tests and show you how it performs on your portfolio.
This is Tim. I echo exactly what Ben said. We're very excited about this product. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. And let's test your data. And we're really eager to show you the results and let them speak for themselves. So very eager to test.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. We are so pleased that you were able to attend today's webinar and hope that you found it valuable. Thank you for participating in the polls and sending in your questions. If we did not have time for your question, Ben and Tim will follow up directly with you so that you'll get your answer. The presentation and webinar recording will be distributed to all attendees in a few days. Again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.